Hi everybody, welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be checking out The High Republic Shadows of Starlight, issue 1 by Charles Soule and Ibrahim Robertson. Soule continues the High Republic story he helped create and jumps 1 year after the disastrous events of the Starlight beacon falling towards Iram. Soule does a great job setting the issue up as jumping on point for new readers or people who haven't read the High Republic in a while. Lots of the big plots for the third phase of the High Republic begin here and are sort of set up, beginning with the implementation of the Guardian Protocols, a series of orders that allow the Jedi to join war efforts and be trained like soldiers. Soule touches on how many of the Jedi don't like this idea, being Jedi are mostly scholars and diplomats during this time, and I like how he portrayed it through the various Jedi Masters, specifically Master Gavina, the temple's armorer, who usually spends her days creating lightsabers and making them works of art, spending hours just meticulously crafting them, and that's all gone away thanks to these protocols, and she now has to be used as kind of like a production line almost, just making simple sabers, simple cylinders that project a lightsaber beam. There's an even more messed up angle is that she's teaching this to children and making these children craft their weapons, all of whom are literal younglings who will be allowed to use real lightsabers now thanks to these protocols. It's a little messed up, and I like that Soule briefly touches on that, and I'm sure more books and maybe even the new High Republic comic that's coming out very soon will actually dive a little bit deeper into that and how that could definitely mess up a couple of Jedi and how they think about the Force and the Jedi themselves and the Republic and everything, and maybe even turn some on each other. Another big piece of Phase 3 is the Storm Wall, a giant wall of space that destroys any ship which tries to hyperspace warp through it unless you have a Nihil Path engine. We have actually seen and heard of this wall before, notably in Soule's Star Wars ongoing recently, where Luke and the Rebels venture through it to find the mythical Kezerat colony. I love little ties like this, and it just shows that the writer actually cares and has actually been mapping this entire thing out and ingraining the High Republic into canon in some really cool and interesting ways. Not only that, we also learn that some Jedi are actually stuck on the other side of this storm wall, and they are behind enemy lines with the Nihil, and these are Jedi like Ava Chris, who had just survived the Starlight beacon crashing, and now she's trapped behind enemy lines, cut off from Elzar Mann and some of the other Jedi who were with her. So I'm intrigued to see where that story goes, and I believe that's going to be covered in an upcoming novel. The main story of the issue though is centered around YODA and him trying to learn more about the Nameless, a terrifying alien threat that the Nihil have been using to hunt Jedi. To learn more about these creatures, YODA enlists the help of Azlyn Rel, a Jedi whose run-in with these creatures early on in his life forced him to the dark side and kind of turned him a bit crazy. Of course, siding with the dark side is never a good thing, and most of the council don't like this, but at a time where they are spread thin thanks to the Starlight incident and various other stuff with the Legacy run and the hyperspace incident, they end up trying to help Azlyn as he was one of their numbers. But this turns into a big problem since Azlyn, being a dark side user, decides to cause a little bit of chaos and causes a Republic cruiser to crash on a world which contained information on what the Nameless could be. In destroying the city, he also destroyed the information as well, all in the service of some twisted hope that sealing the information away will prevent more from learning and discovering what the Nameless is. This of course puts him at odds with YODA, who has been trying to pull the dark side out of this person, citing that it wasn't his fault that he fell to the dark side, and he is so sure that this guy didn't do it intentionally, even though everything is kind of pointing to maybe he did, and maybe some of the stuff we've seen of Azlyn since he's appeared before in some various novels and some other comics, maybe he did intentionally do this, and maybe he is actually a dark side user now. He also has a really cool design, especially if you go back and look at what his design when he was younger. He just looks like a normal Jedi guy, like just very generic, and then you see what he looks like here when he's older, and he's got like these weird sort of cybernetic eyes because his eyes are all hollowed out because he's like they got clawed out when he saw the Nameless and everything. His robes are covered in blood. It just looks great, and Ibrahim Robertson's art in this issue is just fantastic. He captures the scale scale of what's going on in the galaxy really well, and really pays attention to details regarding who which characters are and what they should look like. There's various characters in this book that were in novels or in other comic book series, and he's done a really good job making it all consistent with those other appearances. I have really been enjoying the build up to the Nameless. This isn't the first time they've appeared. They've appeared various times throughout the High Republic since the start of Phase 1, and I really like how they are used as a sort of boogeyman. The whole deal is that they eat the Force. They like feasting on the Force, and I like that they are very comparative to things from Star Wars Legends like the Grisk or the Yuuzhan Vong, and I'm really partial to just slightly cosmic horror type creatures. They look horrifying, and you could understand why characters like Aslan might have turned to the dark side because of what he saw. You can totally understand it when you see these wraith-like banshees coming at you trying to suck your Force energy away from you. I hope we get to see a bit more of them, since they've been pretty sparse on how they are being viewed. We've only gotten a couple of visuals of them, and they always vary in their appearance, but Soul has been using them to great effect, showing us what they can do to a Jedi without actually showing them, and just showing sort of the aftermath of seeing what one of these creatures is and kind of building up their mythology a little bit. Soul's return to the High Republic with Shadows of Starlight issue 1 was a fantastic jumping on point for new and returning readers. It sets up a lot of the stories going forward into Phase 3 of the High Republic. It does a great job setting out what you may have missed, especially covering the big events like the Starlight beacon crashing. You get mentions of the Legacy Run incident, which is the genesis of this High Republic era, and the disasters which have been happening here. You get some cool stuff with Yoda and him sort of dabbling in the dark side and resorting to desperate measures to find out what this villain is they're fighting, and the villain, the Nameless, is just really cool. I'm going to give this issue a 9 out of 10. Definitely check this issue out, and check out the upcoming High Republic comic which is coming out. They're starting a new Phase 3 #1 issue, and it's going to be following on from this story, and this story is going to continue for another couple of issues as like a special that sort of intercuts between the issues of the High Republic ongoing. So keep an eye out to my channel, and I'll be covering both of those books as they come out. You can also catch up on Dark Droids, the Star Wars event that is happening in the original trilogy timeline. We are at about the halfway mark for that, and it's been excellent, and it's been chugging along really nicely. So there's something for everyone when it comes to Star Wars. Thanks for watching.